Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss an important topic because what I find is like most cryptic feature about Photoshop, that one feature that you should get it right to understand Photoshop, because I have been using Photoshop since last 20 plus years or so, but I actually even I didn't find the time to figure this thing out. So because and so I'll briefly discuss with about this topic, this feature here in this video. So make sure you like and subscribe this video so that you get quality videos like this, and it gets promoted to people who are seeking out this information. So this is the pen feature, and I am going to provide it from a app developer perspective also, because I never found a single video that emphasized this topic. So I'm going to discuss it from the app developer perspective, like how this thing was built into this application. Why is it so cryptic, and why it is so hidden? So basically this is a hidden feature. Most people might not get the chance to use it, or they probably use something else to do it. So we'll discuss that aspect also, like how it got such a reputation, this feature. So 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 thanks for viewing this, and do like and subscribe if you feel it. And so let's get to it. As you can already see, there is an image in the screen, you can see. So this actually I've put it so that um, you know what we are going to achieve it. And I'll also tell you why I am doing this image, because I'll show you. So I was trying to do a cross. I needed this cross image, and what I ran into was like I needed something like this one, or maybe I'll show you. And what happened was like I the website there is some license issue with it, and like you have to mention the author, the link, or something like that. So it was a licensing issue, even if like. So I thought, like, why don't we do this image ourselves? Like, the first instinct is to use like whatever is available already, like a transparent PNG, so you can just basically bypass all the work. But then again, I felt the need to do that. So if you want to try to do something like this cross here, then this is like in retrospect I think about, like, you can also do this thing with like rectangular selection. Okay, but then like I thought, like, why not today do this thing by drawing a line in Photoshop basically, so without using the selection tool. Okay, so that was the premise of the problem, what I tried to achieve. And then what happened? So the problem I encountered was like, since you are not using the selection tool to draw this thing, like you can see the rounded edge here. Of course you can do that with a rounded selection. You can do that, but the most obvious thing is, like, when you are doing like any kind of other application, vector application, you simply draw a line, right? So you draw a line, that's it. And it's like counterintuitive to first draw a selection, a rectangle, then rotate it, then fill it, then duplicate it, okay, to get the two bars. So this is what typically, like, you think about if you are like a beginner to intermediate and you don't know about these things, the vector shapes. You try to achieve them with selection tools. So I thought, like, let's try the lines and everything today. And so here comes the feature. So you can see there, here, this is the pen tool, and if you click it, the pen tool is there. And of course there is the line tool also there, rectangle, ellipse, polygon, line tool. So what happens is, like, since this is a raster application, like, it is for image manipulation basically, it is not Illustrator. Okay, it's very different, like two products, but they're very different because you cannot use the like you may be using some other tools like for example uh, Corel's tool, okay, Corel Draw, and other like maybe from Macromedia line of products previously, like Flash or something, where you can just like click and draw the lines. So this is a very important concept. That's why I'm expounding. I'm getting into the details here. So you just have to bear with me. And so you could draw like this. Like you move your cursor, you start drawing a Bezier curve or a line. What they say, you try to get it. But the same thing, if you try to do it in Photoshop, it is difficult because this is a raster application. By raster I mean like you have only like brush, paintbrush, and that you cannot have like, I mean, you can have, but it is not more towards vector. So Illustrator is for vector applications, but still then, since Photoshop is like they want to have like all the features in, like at least some of the features should be there in Photoshop. So there is like some vector aspects are there in Photoshop also, like text you are using. Text is a vector only. So it's a you can scale it and do it and everything. So anything basically which you can right click and like in the layers, if you can rasterize, so that is a vector object. So if you like, so in that same category of text comes these things, pen tools and shapes. Whatever you draw with these things, these are actually the vector things. These are not like the paintbrush and you did the stroke. Okay, and another thing, the problem with vectors in a raster application is that once you draw something like because text you can keep it in a different layer, that's fine, so it retains its vector like property. But if you draw like if you in a single layer you try to draw an image, like for example you do in Illustrator or you do in Krita or other applications, what you do basically is like you take the brush and you try to do it, or so, and some of the points will be there, so you can drag the points and modify the curve there. So it's like basically a vector that okay, so you can do that. But what happens here is like you have to like once you draw the vector in the layer, you also have to remember it. Like, I mean, it is not the same as the other pixels in the layer. So that's why like to keep the integrity of each object, because you will be having a rectangle here, you will be having a triangle here. Okay, so to keep the integrity of each of the shapes, so that it is a shape, it's not a like a brush stroke. So to keep that shape, you have these things called the paths. So these are like a set of objects in Photoshop you have, and you can have paths. So there is a separate path panel here. If you can go to view and you can go to window, you see that path is selected for me. Okay, so like actually I'll pull it here. So this is path, this is the path panel. So here you can see like whatever the different things, so layers are different things, and then paths you have. So in the screen, how many paths you have where. So this maintains it. You can select a path here, you can delete a path here, you can do that. So it's basically a vector object that you can put it in a screen. A path is that kind of thing. And what, since it is just, it's the abstract vector only, so there is no like that here comes the confusing part of paths. I mean, they are just abstract, like a road for example, or a marker for example. Okay, so it's like if you draw with a rough pencil where you are going to actually color the image, so it's like a rough drawing. So there is nothing actually when you draw a path. It is just a like a selection rectangle kind of thing only. What happens when you like how to paint or do something useful with it, something visible, is like when you apply the stroke with your brush, there comes the key. So you are not using these things in isolation. The pen tool and the line tool or shape tool, you are using them in conjunction with brush primarily. Okay, so brush is the raster, it's the raster tool. So once you have a path, you right click the path and you apply stroke using brush. So what it tells Photoshop is like, please use this path to draw using the brush. Are you getting? So when you do that, then only you are going to get anything out of it. So this is the design aspect of it. Okay, so you have to understand like why it is required, why there are two steps to it, and where problems may arise. Okay, how to get hold of things. So next we'll be seeing how to use them, like how to create this thing. Okay, so I'll show it step by step quickly. So here I have like for the circle first. Okay, hold shift for a uniform circle, you got it. Then you will also discuss like what are the problems you may run into while trying to do paths, because this is a common thing. What happens is like you do the path thing, you keep applying stroke, but nothing happens. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'm choosing a red color from the swatches and I'm putting it here. Okay, this is not the perfect red color yet. We can do that using the layer styles, of course, like a gradient thing, because I like to apply the gradient from the layer style itself. Okay, so what I'll do is like I'll bring this panel also here so that you can see it. Then I right click it and blending options. So it's gradient overlay and this color, and instead of the white you choose the darker kind of shade on both the sides, so that you just get it. This is actually the Bindi color in India. So once you have it to your satisfaction, now see, the problem here is like the layer styles are always like this. Is, you can see that already layer styles are applied to it. This is a very common thing, you will be applying layer styles. Now what this means is that this is a vector. Now this thing is a raster, but vector effects have been applied to it. Okay, because you can turn things off, okay, on and off. So some vector properties are applied to it. Now what may happen here, right, is like if I deselect it and if I try to even use a so before, one trick is like before you are applying any path tool to it, before you are drawing any path, you should always first, like, because afterwards you are going to apply the brush. Okay, so always first test the brush. Are you able to get the brush right or not? Then you can just apply that, like you can instruct Photoshop to use this brush on the path. Okay, so the logical thing is like that. So I have switched to white color here. See, now my layer is selected and everything. You can see the small white line there. So I'm applying. That's a feature of Photoshop to help actually. Okay, so maybe this stroke was wrong a little bit, I exceeded. So if I do that, you can see like white line is appearing here, but no white line is appearing here. So that's the value of using the brush first and then stroke, like path later. Okay, like in this case, if you try to, like, you have this thing, you have the effects applied, layer styles, and then you try to draw the path, pen tool, and you then you apply this apply with brush. You have white color selected, the mixing mode is normal only. Now what happens is like you will see that there is no output coming, so it's quite puzzling there. So that's why I'm giving you this extra tip here. So what happens is like, because this is, I mean, you are mixing raster and vector at the same time and the same layer, so this is causing the problem. Text you are always having on a separate layer. Okay, if you have not merged it. Okay, merged text is, again, it's rasterized only, so you cannot edit it. Okay, so that is the difference between raster and vector. Vector means it maintains its integrity. You can edit it anytime isolated, you can move it around, do anything, but that's okay. So what happens here is like I'll undo the brush strokes here. Then what I'll do is like, you have to convert this, you have to rasterize it. Okay, rasterize layer style. If you do that, now you see that this is a fully rastered layer. Okay, if you try to draw a stroke here, brush stroke, you're going to get it. And I have the brush panels loaded because by default most of the time I use this brush, which is a blurry brush, but for my cross here I need a sharp brush. Okay, so I am using this one, and you can of course toggle this from the Windows brushes. Okay, so that's why I've kept it here. And so you now got the result. Okay, now you can apply the path here. So what I'll do is like, so once I have done that, now I'll select the pen tool. Okay, then click here once. This is drawing the path is like it's like in any other tool, like Corel Draw, Illustrator, most other kind of vector tools. Okay, so you have this line. Okay, you can use shift and everything to draw this thing. I have not used shift here, and you can probably delete also to undo something. Shift, enter. Okay, I think I did something here wrong. Okay, you can always go back here and click shift, click. Okay, so here you have it. Now you see that you are stuck. What to do next? Now here comes the keys, like you move the cursor to the middle so that you see the plus here, plus sign over the cursor, right click, and then you have to stroke path. Okay, stroke means the line. Okay, line, stroke path. Stroke path, you go and you apply brush, then color is white only because we tested the brush already. So okay, so now you got it. So this is the basic of this tool, pen tool, or line tool or anything. This is the entire basic thing of it. And after that, like, what you can do is basically like to draw the other shape, right? That you can again do it. So I don't think that's difficult. Actually, like you shouldn't draw this one in the same layer here. I did a mistake. I just forgot that. Okay, so I'm undoing everything. Rasterize layer style. Okay, so what I'll do is like just the regular selection tool, Control Shift N for a new layer, and then so after the new layer, in the new layer I'll draw with the path here. So I'll first test the brush. Okay, and as you can see, this is a simple layer only, raster layer, so it's fine. Then I'll go to the pen tool, point, shift, point. Now I got it. Go to the middle, right click, stroke path, use brush. Okay, so here you have it. So now since you have the layer here, so now one of the things, like now whatever you do, this path remains here. Okay, and you are also not sure this path belongs to which layer. Okay, so we'll see that. So right now I'm duplicating this layer. Okay, my system is just lagging a little bit here. Okay, so now we have also now I can rotate it. Okay, Control T, new layer, Control T. Okay, this is the path transformation, it's happening, Control T. So you just have to select this one here, and yeah, it's the same thing. So then you rotate it. So you have to see like you are doing it perfectly here. My system is a little bit lagging because of the screencasting. So you have it, press enter, and then you are done with it. Okay, so you are still not finished. So you can see that the path is hanging around still. Now what you can go do here is like, all paths will be here in the paths panel. You can do that using Windows paths. Okay, now you can you can select it here, or you can remove the path because we don't need that path right now. Okay, so you can see like it was an abstract thing, so we could delete it and it didn't alter our image anyway. Okay, so now what you can do is like you can separately do some other works here, like go to, you don't need to merge these things, but like, okay, so you can apply some layer styles here. Of course you have to check like your arrows and angles are perfect, like they are this 90-degree apart. I'm not doing that exactly right now here because as you can see it's a little bit slow down is I'm experiencing. So here you can do that, like some bevel and emboss and outer shadow, drop shadow you can apply here. Okay, just to give a little bit of effect to it, realistic effect to it. And then once you apply the layer style to this thing, you can just copy layer style and paste the layer style here. So this is a very basic way to do this cross image. Okay, this is far from perfect. Okay, but you have to see that like how much width you have to do it, how much angle, and what effects like, and okay, so this is the basic thing. So this is a, so you now got to know this feature. If this has helped you in any way, don't forget to like and subscribe because you're going to miss some content if I when I'm posting new contents to this channel. And this so if you feel this useful, you can also share with your friends, designer friends who are working, who might need this. And so that's all about this pen tool or the path in Photoshop.